You know, we throw the word stress around all the time, but have you ever really stopped to think about where that word even comes from? Well, in this explainer, we're going to uncover the absolutely surprising journey of this one little word and how it jumped from the world of engineering to medicine and even into how we speak.
Yeah, of course you have, right? I mean, we all talk about being stressed out. It's that pressure from work, that weight of all your responsibilities. You know the feeling, like you're being pulled in a million different directions at once. It's just part of being human. But isn't it kind of weird when you think about it? The same exact word we use to describe our own anxiety is also what engineers use when they're talking about the forces holding up a bridge. I mean, how did that happen? How did one word come to mean both a physical force and a biological feeling? Okay, so let's dig in. Where does this powerful word actually come from? Well, our journey doesn't start in a doctor's office or a therapist's chair. It actually starts in the world of physics.
Yep, that's right. Originally, stress was a term from mechanics. In physics, it's just a way to measure the internal forces inside a material that are pushing back against some kind of external force. It's all about pressure and resistance, and it's calculated pretty simply, just force divided by area.
And this physical stress, it comes in a few different flavors. You've got tensile stress, that's a pulling force, just like when you stretch a rubber band. Then there's compressive stress, which is a squeezing or pushing force. Think about a pillar holding up a heavy roof. And finally, there's shear stress, which is more of a sliding or cutting force, kind of like what scissors do to paper. Each one is just a different way a material resists pressure.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting. How on earth did a word for inanimate objects make the huge leap into our living, breathing bodies? Well, the answer comes down to one brilliant, pioneering scientist.
I want you to meet Hans Selye. People call him the father of stress research. See, back in the 1930s, he intentionally borrowed the term stress from physics because he saw this amazing analogy. He came up with this famous definition for biological stress. It's the body's non-specific response to any demand placed on it.
Selye's big idea started way back when he was just a medical student. He noticed something that all his professors were overlooking. No matter what a patient's specific illness was, they all seemed to share the same general complaints. They were tired, they weren't hungry, they just felt, sick. He even called it the syndrome of just being sick. And 10 years later, his experiments with rats would prove that his hunch was on to something huge.
So he puts these poor lab rats through the ringer. I mean, he exposed them to all sorts of negative stuff, from extreme cold to forced exercise. And what he found was remarkable. It didn't matter what the specific stressor was. The rats' bodies all reacted in the exact same three ways. Their adrenal glands got bigger, their immune system shrank, and they got stomach ulcers. This was the universal, non-specific response he'd been looking for.
And from that discovery, he developed his next big idea, the general adaptation syndrome. It's a three-stage process. First, you've got the alarm reaction. That's the initial shock. Then comes the stage of resistance, where your body adapts and tries to fight back. But if that pressure keeps up for too long, you hit the stage of exhaustion. Your body's resources just get drained, and that's when you get sick. Sound familiar?
Selye's work was absolutely groundbreaking. And now, with modern science, we can zoom in and see exactly what that long-term stress does to our most important organ, the brain.
The whole operation is run by something called the HPA axis. Think of it as your body's stress command center. When your brain senses a threat, the hypothalamus sends a signal, which tells the pituitary gland to send another signal, which finally tells the adrenal glands to pump out cortisol, the famous stress hormone. Now, in a quick burst, this system is a lifesaver. It's your fight-or-flight response. But when it's switched on all the time, well, that's when it starts to do some real damage.
And this is the really critical part. A constant flood of cortisol literally reshapes your brain. It makes your fear center, the amygdala, bigger and more reactive, which is why you feel more anxious. It actually shrinks your prefrontal cortex, which hurts your ability to make good decisions. And it damages your hippocampus, making it harder to form new memories. So yeah, chronic stress isn't just a feeling. It physically changes the structure of your brain.
Okay, so we've gone from bridges to brains. You might think that's the end of the story, right? Well, not quite. The journey of this amazing metaphor isn't over yet. Stress actually plays a key role in one more pretty unexpected field.
We're talking about linguistics, the study of language. In language, stress is just the emphasis or the force you put on one part of a word or sentence to make it stand out.
And just like in physics or biology, applying this force completely changes the system.
Think about it. Where you put the vocal stress can totally change a word's meaning. For instance, insight is a noun, but insight is a verb. It's the same letters, but the stress makes all the difference.
So let's just step back and look at the big picture here. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a steel beam, a human body, or a spoken word. The core idea of stress is exactly the same. It's always about the relationship between some kind of external pressure and an internal system's response to it.
And that, right there, is the big takeaway. Stress isn't just a feeling we have. The word itself is so powerful because it's a brilliant scientific metaphor. It gives us a framework for understanding how all kinds of different systems, mechanical, biological, you name it, behave when they're pushed to their limits. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other scientific words have we borrowed that we use every single day to make sense of our lives? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.